YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, back with some more Total War Rome 2 online replays. In this case, it's going to be myself as Egypt versus Rome. And here you can see my Egyptian army, the Battle of Ars. Oh man. So I've brought another cheap Egyptian pike army, which is pretty brutal. And again, going to demonstrate some of this kind of heavy or high numbers of peltist meta build, but you can see that my opponent has also brought a large number of peltists, so he's probably familiar with the fact that these units are more effective in gameplay. Now my opponent gets to start on top of this hill on this map. I really dislike this map. It doesn't make much sense. But, you know, sometimes it's fun to try and get your opponent off the hill, so whatever, I'll take the challenge. So my pikemen can obviously hold his men from the front for as long as I need them to. My light peltists have extra ammo, which gives them a slight edge over the Roman javelins, but the Roman javelins are cheaper. Let me cover my build just real quick. So I think six actually Egyptian pikemen, 5 light peltist, 2 Ptolemaic cav, 1 African war elephant, which is here, 1 Egyptian cav for just fast moving. I put my general in a carrying axeman just to get a cheaper general, and then I have a scythe chariot. My scythe chariot is meant for late game activity, so I don't mind getting my elephants killed or my cav killed just so long as I bring down the Roman cav. If I bring down the Roman cav, my scythe chariots will have a heyday with the rest of his infantry. So that's really my main battle strategy, is bring down his cav, and then there's nothing he can do about my chariots. So here I'm going to try and start baiting his cav into a fight. I've got my Egyptian cav out here on the flank, and my opponent brought cheap infantry with the idea of bringing tons of javelins. Now his javelins are extremely cheap, but they're also not going to be very good. But, you know, again, they're cheap, and this allowed him to bring a whole lot of Praetorian cav, which is going to suffer versus shock cav, but it's very strong and not real easy to kill. It takes a while. So I'm going to put my light peltist up here to do some skirmishing with his levies, which are pushing too far forward and all bunched up, but for whatever reason, oh no, it's because his cav right here. So I was about to absolutely murder all of his javelins, but his cav made a very timely run at me there and actually kind of turned that situation favorable for him. But right here, my Ptolemaic cav gets a solid charge on his Praetorian cav, and I try to get through to his skirmishers, but get intercepted by the Roman legatus. Unfortunately, that was just about to be a great move on my part, but not quite. But the Roman legatus really doesn't want to be in a fight versus that light cav either. But my opponent can start to support this with infantry. He's got 5 crap infantry, which are Histati, but he's backing him up with 2 Praetorian guard. So what he's doing is saying, hey, I just need some cheap infantry to help fill certain areas. And look, he goes into Testudo again, trying to avoid the javelin massacre. But still going headlong into pikes is not what he wants. But the Testudo will help protect him from my javelins. So he's trying to take this about as smart as he can. I'm going to assist my Ptolemaic cav with a few javelins here, and then look, his men again were out of position, so I take my war elephants in, but this time Air was a little too hasty because all these cheap levy units can now unload their javelins on my elephants, and no matter how cheap the javelins are, it takes its toll. He even used Draco here, which increases the bonus first cav of his cavalry, so he's actually able to deal with my elephants here, which was, you know, a miscalculation on my part, and he's reinforced here with some Histati. 2 Histati units, actually, so this fight will actually go in his favor eventually as well. But my light peltists have plenty of ammo. I'm going to take my time, sit back, let him do some damage. I'm not in any hurry. He can't bust through the front of my pikes. It's just that my attempts to get his cav killed early are not going as well as I'd hoped. I do have another Praetorian cav bogged down back here that I'll eventually beat. But see, he's now got a Praetorian cav to go around my flank, so check this out. I think this is an important piece of the battle for me to point out kind of what's going on. I'm going to put it in slow motion. So my light peltists are still doing what they do best, which is exchanging fire with his javelins. My guys have better shield strength, so although going for cheap javelins was probably a smart move by my opponent, it's still going to be hard for him to deal with my own, but at least he didn't spend a lot of money here that gets easily killed. Now is the time when my opponent is in trouble, because look, my scythe chariots can go unopposed from here to here to here and get tons of kills. If he would have left just 1 cav unit right here, he could have protected all that, because his cav could have bogged down my chariots kind of like it did my elephants. But now I'm going to absolutely get him while his cav is way over here, trying to get around my flank, which I can just continually deny. So I can go from here to here to here and just keep him off my flank. And I'm going to go ahead and go back into play and show you what a fatal mistake this was for my opponent. He does switch his targets to my chariots, but this is the problem. Chariots cannot be stopped by infantry unless they're pikes. So I plowed right through his histati and get right into his levies, and at this point, game's over pretty much. My opponent has no way to counteract, and then look, I just keep my chariots moving, running into the backs of his men. His men aren't braced. They're just easy targets. This is a no-brainer right here, and then I can get into the back of this fight that was previously going to go in his favor, and now it's not going to go in his favor. So really the only two major threats my opponent has left are these Praetorian Guard, and they're actually hung up on the front of my pikes right now because he can't really get around my flank. I just keep denying it. And again, his cav even is going to have a hard time getting around me. So those chariots just decimating. Look at that. Approaching 500 kills now. Just destroyed all of his histati, and I can charge in this Praetorian cav. He pulled his Praetorian cav out of the fight with my Ptolemaic to just try and do anything he could. And the Praetorian cav did finally slow down my chariots, but it was too late. And at this point, I can just continue to take out the rest of his skirmishers. And look, his skirmishers do get kills on my chariots once they get a chance to fire. But that's the thing, is normally the chariot's just going to plow through the infantry unit in front of your skirmisher and then just take him out. And he even used Draco on it too, which again is smart. My opponent's trying hard here. And he made a few key mistakes, but I like the way his build, his Roman build, was actually focused around trying to counter this meta build that he expected from me. I did bring it, he expected it, and he tried to counter it. And it's really that mistake here by leaving those chariots able to just get at his men over here. If he would have just left one Praetorian cav here, continued the flanking movement over here, it would have put me under a pretty major threat, because then this cav fight probably would have gone against me as well. So that was definitely a strategic error on my opponent's part there that really kind of handed me the game. His Praetorian Guard, although a fantastic unit, just really never got a chance to live up to its potential there. And then look, Scythe Chariots, 538 kills. Unbelievable, the amount of damage these guys can do. Some of my elephants were completely misused as well. Only got 48 kills before he took him down. Again, good job. Put his Praetorian cav into him. Use the Draco, which gives him a bonus versus large. Good attempt, and supported with levies. And he didn't spend too much money on these guys because he knew, hey, you know what, Velites aren't very good anyway. I can spend way more money, or I can just bring these cheap guys. Only brought a couple of heavy infantry. And again, this is smart in my opinion. I think my opponent was trying to figure out a good counter build here, and it was close. It was very close. If he would have kept my chariots guarded, I don't know if I could have won that fight or not. It would have been pretty close. So, fun game. Hope you all enjoyed that one. HeirofCarthage signing off for now.